All right,
Hey,
we are
salutations,
live.
everybody.
What?
Hey, all right, listen, Holden. It was just 1 week that I was gone. All right, fall the fuck back. There's my little sections here at the beginning and shit. All right, don't be fucking stepping on my intro and shit. Hey, salutations, everyone. This is the Perspectives Pod. I'm that asshole, is Littyyy bro Flacko. This is my buddy right here, my co-host or the other host. I feel very particular about words like co-host. I'm like it makes it sound like he's co-hosting and I'm the host. And I don't like that. You know what I mean? It's like we're just both co-hosts. You know what I mean? But anyway, and my other co-host over here to my right, Holden Stephan Roy. Holden, say hi. Holden.
Hi, Holden.
That's right. All right. And we got our special guest in the building, Bronx legend, battle rapper extraordinaire, Littyyy bro, just all around quintessential New Yorker. Because he's such a quintessential New Yorker, I made sure that I had my background New York City. You know what I mean? I got my my flannel shirt on, and I got a motherfucking bubble vest. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all repping hard for the Bronx. I got my Timbs on. I'm not gonna do all that, bringing my feet up to the screen and shit. But like, you know what I mean? Like quintessential New Yorker. Push Pax, Littyyy Bro Pax, formerly known as Push Pax.
Yeah. What's up, y'all? Thanks for having me. You call me a legend. I appreciate that. That's love. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel
Absolutely,
that
bro.
way, but that's love. Thank you, bro.
Nah, absolutely. Yo, I tell you this, before every show, like we do a whole like an hour where we like either depending on what the person that we're interviewing does, like for Jay Smooth, because Jay Smooth is just a radio host. It's not like we could play like video or audio from his radio shows. So we just like watched his interviews that he's done. Like luckily he's like a famously cool guy and he's gotten to do a fucking TED talk, right? So like it's cool to sit there and watch a TED talk, about somebody that you're gonna interview. But like we watch his TED talks with like certain people, like if they make mostly music, we listen to their music. If they make battles, we watch their battles. Depending on what you do, you know what I mean? Like we watch the stuff beforehand. And like as we were watching your battles, I'm like, yo, absolute legend, yo. Like absolutely deserving of the title. Like the battles that you've had, like you had some really good battles against like people who are not chumps, like people who are like on fire at their prime of being on fire, and like for you to have stood toe to toe with people like that and being able to like not only hold your own but come out victorious in some cases, like I think that like absolutely like the stuff that legends are made out of, you know what I mean? So definitely Bronx legend, definitely deserved in the title. So usually, right, the way we start out the show is like I explain to everybody like the way that like the show came about, right? Like me and the homie Holden, we met because like I was on that like promo run for like the first Littyyy Bros album and whatnot. And he, Merker Miyagi, which was the engineer on the first project, like he's from Montreal. And he's like might as well be from New York though, right? Because like he don't ever like he engineers, but like he don't ever promote any of the people who he works like their stuff, because it's like promote one motherfucker, then you got to promote them all, And I'm not promoting all that trash, you know what I'm saying? So like he's like that, So like he don't ever promote the shit he works on, but he promoted our shit, right? And that was pretty cool. And like Holden took notice of that because he was like, "What? Like the homie Merker don't ever like really share people's shit." And he shared it with like like a cool caption, like like, "Oh, if I ever go to New York, like I want to party with the Littyyy Bros. This looks like." I forgot what he said exactly, but it was a cool quote. You know what I mean?
Fire. Yeah.
Cool cosign, right? And so like Holden, like on his own, went and checked this out, and like was like, yo, he wanted to review the music because he was on YouTube doing reviews and whatnot, and did a review on the album. And then I was like, he was like, oh no, I was like, yo, we should do an interview. And he was like, that sounds great. I wanted to do an interview anyway. You know what I mean? We did an interview, And then like the interview, after the interview, I felt like I went to fucking therapy and shit. You know what I mean? Like I was like, why have I been a rapper this long and I've never sat and talked about like shit that matters, like my actual life and shit. And I've always talked about dumbass rap shit, like fucking who's my favorite rapper and shit, or like would I or would I not be on fucking Love and Hip Hop, which is like, what does it matter? Like they're not calling me. Anyway, so like, we watched, we did that interview. I felt like therapy. I immediately act like a New Yorker, right? Which is like what? Like you get up on some dope shit. What do? You put people onto that shit. Yeah. So like I was like, yo, we should do a series where like I bring people to the table and like, we talk about them. And then we set it off, and we've been doing this now for like more than half a year, I think now.
It's like 8.5 months.
8.5 months. I love undershooting things and then hearing like the actual number, because it was like,
bro, it was like late December, right? So for me, it's mad simple. It's like take whatever the month is and add a week or two.
Word, we did start in December. I forgot about that. So yeah, and then here we are, And so Holden has his usual questions he likes to ask, you know what I mean? But like, I decided to interject and make my little intro segment here longer than usual and shit. As you can see, I like to stretch it even more sometimes, right? And so, I got a question that I like to ask everybody, which is like, yo, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody the way that you like to be known, and tell them where you're from and where your parents are from.
I'm Pax, man. You could just call me Pax. I used to be Push Pax. I just took the push out my name because I just see no purpose there. I don't push Pax anymore. So it's like, I'm Pax now, bro. So I was born in Harlem, raised in the Bronx. Both my parents are from Puerto Rico, from the island itself. You know what I'm saying? And they came over here as youngins.
Word. Wait, what part of Harlem were you born in?
I was born in St. Luke's. Ayo, Cheeks, meet me up in St. Luke's. I don't really know where that's at off bat, but yeah, that's where I was born.
Word.
That hospital. Yeah.
And you said your parents are from Puerto Rico, the island, like as in like they were born there, raised there, and then migrated here.
Yeah, they lived most of their life there. Well, not now, but when they got here, they was like 20, 16, 18, 20 years old in that range. I don't know exactly when, but around that time. Actually, my father came here after my mother. He came here a little, like he was already lived his late 28 years old coming over here, 26, 27 coming over. My mom came here when she was young, like 16, 17 years old.
Interesting. It's cool that you know that kind of stuff. I find it so interesting when people like actually take that time to invest in that level of detail about their own history.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I never asked my mom, but she always would tell us stuff like that. So, and I like you saying that, right? If my mom never told me that, I probably would have never asked her, and you guys wouldn't have got that. You know what I'm saying? So, for her to tell me that, it's like she wanted me to know her history or the origin of the family.
Yeah, it's big.
That's important, though. That really is. Like, as I've gotten older, I've noticed how much more I care about like my parents' just history and background, and finding my like old, like my great grandfather, and like, you know what I'm saying? Like just knowing stuff about your family's history is like,
they wasn't from here, they from over there. So knowing that our bloodline goes all the way back over there, and then from there it goes somewhere else, you know what I'm saying? So it's ill to learn all of that about your bloodline and your history.
Yeah, it's
big facts.
But it's also good because it helps create the context for the question I like to kind of get the ball rolling with. Because in a lot of ways, it's just important for you to remember that, like, I was born and raised in Montreal, and I've never been to New York City. So usually when things like "nah, I mean" get said, there's a good chance I do not know what you mean. With that, the viewers watching are also probably not entirely from New York City. So with that, it's a good opportunity to just share it all. But I just say that as like a little context because the first question is a bit of a story. And when it lands and whatnot, we're gonna get into the conversation. And it all starts with my girlfriend, and she's washing the dishes one time, and she's got her phone out, and she's playing that Black Eyed Peas song. I got a feeling.
I got a feeling. Woo.
And she's vibing and she's dancing and she's doing her thing and she's washing the dishes. And I'm like, yo, when did this song become chores music? Right? Like, when the fuck did that happen? One day, a long time ago, we're sitting there in the clubs and this is like the middle of the night music. It's like the big anthem. Like, that was the fucking song. Everybody drunk to that shit. Good times. And then a decade goes by. You know, the song doesn't really change or evolve in any particular way. But our lives changed so much around this one song that now it's chores music and it's exercise music and it's some shit that we want to put on to go back to the happy place in our mind as we go do the boring things in our day. And I was like, that was crazy to me to think about how much it all evolves. And if we think about it, right, I mean, there's a whole bunch of little 20-year-olds running around now that have no idea that whatever they're dancing to is about to become the chores music of their future. And I thought that was a little amusing. But then it made me realize that all that club music they're listening to is still what I'm putting on for chores music. It's just that club music kind of becomes that because all of this stuff changes through it where we're at in our lives on our particular journeys. Because while a song is a journey, so do us on our own like musical experiences. And often when we think about our own musical journeys and ourselves and the way it works out, we focus on like this adolescent era, the when I got into hip-hop, the this is when I started rapping, I'm a teenager, but that's not really like the start of anybody's story, especially when it comes to something like music, which has been around us since the beginning of our lives, possibly down to like playing in a hospital room type level of you come into the world and there's something there. So with that, it got me thinking about how like way back, I'm like super young, 4 or 5 years old, my dad's got these like gray boxes, the fucking amplifiers and the radios and the tape decks, and they got the wires going all over the speakers and shit. He'd be busting his Led Zeppelin tapes and shit. At night we had the 90s Montreal techno music live from the clubs playing through it. My mom's was more into like discos and musicals and that kind of shit, and it was like it made me realize all these sounds, and you know, maybe in the car would be a different vibe, and like this was just like almost this whole universe of music and shit that I was listening to and being influenced by long before I had any control over it. So I was hoping, Mr. Pax, you could bring us all the way back down to the youngest days of being in New York and stuff, and what you could remember about the soundscape of your life before you had any control over things in it.
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So I was when I was young, right? I was like 4 or 5. Me and my 2 sisters was in a foster home. So they had the older brother there. He was already going to college. So he would come back with a bunch of CDs. So the first CD I remember listening to was Black Moon. I don't remember any songs, but I do remember the cover of the album cover. And I remember putting it in the CD player and just putting it on. And that was like the first kind of music I listened to. It's hip hop, I'm sure. I really don't even know the history of Black Moon, anything like that. That was just the first CD I put in the CD player. And after that, like, it was mostly a lot of like Boyz II Men, Mariah Carey, because this isn't my family. This is a house that I was living in, and these people was more of just away from hip hop. The family was straight off the island from Puerto Rico, so they wasn't kind of really feeling the hip hop thing. But the son, he would play it, so whenever he'd play, I listened to it. But it was mostly a lot of R&B and house music. A lot of house music.
That's
I wouldn't play it, but that's just stuff that was being played around. Yeah.
That's actually kind of the MO for back then, right? Like New York City was a very heavy house freestyle city back in the days, exactly. Like really, really, really heavy. That was like
especially in the Puerto Rican households.
Especially in the Puerto Rican households, which was like it felt like we were talking about this in here on the EOW Zoom with Danny a couple weeks ago, and she was like, definitely Uptown. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it might not have been like heavily prevalent in Brooklyn, but like Uptown period, whether it's like Spanish Harlem or even like regular Harlem that had a lot of Puerto Ricans too in it, or like the Bronx, anywhere uptown, which that's all considered uptown, or definitely in the Heights, you know, before Dominicans were heavy in the Heights, you know, like Puerto Ricans were still there too as well. And it's just like, yo, wherever Puerto Ricans were, there was a heavy hand with the freestyle in the house. That was a very common thing back in the days, was like for house and freestyle to be very prevalent uptown in Puerto Rican Latin neighborhoods.
I mean,
that was a big thing. And also a lot of pop music. Like I said, these people they wasn't really into hip hop like that.
So when
fresh off the island, they wasn't fucking with that.
So like when you were young, were you like invested in music, like, or were you more of like a fan, a consumer? Were you like dancing and singing? Like, what kind of involvement did you have with it?
Oh, you know, it's funny you say that. So, like I said, they listened to a lot of Mariah Carey, Boyz II Men, and I was more invested in the lyrics. I would open the fucking jacket and read the lyrics as the song was playing. That was really my shit. I wasn't really invested in like the host, because the music was cool, but it wasn't like I wasn't into that music at that time. That was just what was around me. But I would just mostly it was always like I want to read the lyrics.
Right.
Word.
So you're saying like you were
even on rap songs as I got older.
Like you were like young, just pulling up in CD flyers, looking at the lyrics.
Yeah, facts.
That's
I was a good reader at 6, 7 years old, so I would just read the lyrics.
Yo,
every song.
You got it. So you're a reader from when you're young.
Yeah.
That's super dope. What kind of stuff did you read?
It's everything. Newspapers, books, whatever I see, I'll pick up and read it. Just because I know I could read. At that age, a lot of kids wasn't reading like me, so I would just pick up whatever and read because I know I could do it.
Yeah, that's super.
Anything
big.
I seen. Yeah.
So I guess as you're going through that, were you into anything else on the era of being young like that, like drawing or just different other kinds of stuff that might be artistic or whatever?
Not really, man. I was a cartoon comic book kid. Bikes and fucking video games. That was me for a while, for like all the way to like 11, 12 years old.
It's so funny. I had a lyric that I had written that I just never used, that I said like, from comic books and cartoons to beers and bitches, you know what I mean? Which is like how I see it, you know, like that was like the way I seeing my, right, like what I cared about the most in life type shit, you know what I mean? Like comic books and cartoons, right? And then puberty hit, and then it became beers and bitches, you know, or blunts and bitches, you know?
Yeah.
Pardon me, ladies. Sorry.
It was
lovely ladies.
I couldn't go outside like that, so it was Family Matters, cartoons after school, and Saved by the Bell and shit like that. So when Saturday came, it was the X-Men that came on. We watched Batman after school, so it was all that nerd shit, bro.
I fucks with it. So
facts. New York City is like that, by the way, though. It is not like a just you thing. A lot of people that have come on here, right? New Yorkers, born and raised, have talked about like the comic books and how heavy that influence was. And it really is. Like, it's just always, that's why you see shit like, you know, Method Man's AKA being Johnny Blaze, the real name of the original Ghost Rider, you know, from the 70s, or like Ghostface being like AKA Tony Starks, which is like Iron Man's real name. Like, you know, Inspect the Deck talking about what was it? Talking about Spider-Man in his lyrics, you know, like it's just heavy in hip hop from New York City is like this like appreciation for comic books. So like that's like on the money.
Yeah, no, for real. And we used to have those remember the mom and pop comic book stores we used to have? Them shits really don't exist no more over here. So I think that's why it died down as well.
Yeah,
but they're still out there because of the internet.
I mean, so you're saying there was just a lot of comic book stores to create the environment of having a lot of people be invested in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mad nifty.
Yeah. Because you know what else was ill back then? The comic book cards. So you know how you get NBA player cards? Remember, niggas used to collect the Gambit, Storm, and just that character card and trade them and shit. That shit died out too.
I still got mine. And you know what? Like, because like this is the team, this is the squad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll bust them out real quick. You know, I still got my my old.
Say
what? You see, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I fucking swear, I might have some of that era's collection Marvel characters stored up in a closet right now. I fucking swear.
Whole ass book of this
Fuck
shit.
Me. That shit's amazing.
Let me show you. Just to show you I ain't bullshit. I got a hardcover comic book right next to me, bro. Just to show you I'm not on no funny shit. This is real shit, bro. I'm really on that nerd shit.
Yo, but you know what's so funny though?
Don't confuse the shit.
Yeah, yo, it's so funny because I was gonna say it for you, Pax. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, so funny because in New York City it'd be like, yo, you be into nerd shit 1 minute and then the next minute you're like beating somebody up.
Yeah, like exactly. Like you
or you're like selling drugs. Like New York City is very like you don't like understand until you're here and you meet. You see how it kind of functions, and you're just like, "Oh shit!" Like, yeah, like it makes sense.
Somebody,
like,
and that's
most
just how
most people in this city are really like. This city opens your mind up to so much that it's hard to be ignorant, and even in your ignorance, you're still kind of smarter than your average Joe. You know, because you get exposed to so much in your lifetime that, like, you know, yeah.
Yeah, super blessed stills. I mean, I appreciate learning this kind of stuff, right? Because I feel like, when you listen to hip-hop and you're not from New York, there's a lot of layers to it that don't translate. As much as we might be scholars, etc., we might study it. Hearing the stories of people and how they've grown up has impacted my appreciation for what comes out of New York a lot more than I think the people from New York are even aware. So it's kind of like super cool that you would share all that. But you did say at the adolescent, little 12-ish age, it starts to evolve and change a little bit. So what starts to happen to is it just the puberty kicks in?
So no, you know what happens? We go back home. So I was in a foster home for like about 5 or 6 years. Yeah, so we go back home. Everybody's back at home, mommy's house. She got a big crib. Everybody's there. There's a basement, an attic. Like everybody's home, right? So now my brothers are big Wu-Tang, AZ, and these type rap. They're big fans of those rappers. So this is now new to me. So they playing Bone Thugs and shit like that. So now I'm around that. So now I go look at the lyrics to these guys. The songs I like, I'm gonna go pull up the lyrics. I want to see what these dudes are talking about. And it just takes off from there. I started fucking with Cash Money and Ja Rule and Jay-Z, of course. That Jay-Z's Hard Knock Life was the first album I bought myself. Like, I went to the store and said, yo, give me that one. So yeah.
That's so dope, right, though? Like, remembering your first CD.
Yeah, I will never forget that.
That means it means a lot. The first one that you buy for yourself, like it means something to you, especially when you're young and you don't have money, right? Because it's not like you got a job and you understand money like that, right? You just understand like this is my first little bit of money, and this is the first thing that like matters to me so much that I'll like musically, you know.
But you know what's ill about the Hard Knock Life CD is that it was fire. So imagine you buy a CD and it's trash. Your first CD you bought, you're like, yo, this shit's ass.
Yo, I'll be honest with you.
Fire.
The first CD I got given, right, was Salt and Pepper, a very necessary, I forget the name of the exact title of the album. And I'm not gonna lie, yo, bro, that shit was a dope for me. Like, I was like, I'm not bumping this shit, bro. Like, this shit trash.
Bro, imagine it was Pink, Can't Take Me Home.
That was your first album?
Yeah.
Or someone gave it to you?
They gave it to me. Basically the same thing at that age.
Yeah. So young that somebody gives you an album,
it's
right?
Basically like then. But it might. I don't remember if I chose it or it was like, because it might have been like you can pick it, but I'm buying it for you. And like she had that one single. I'm like 12, man. I don't really remember. And
Yeah. I got given it on some. They got it, and I don't think that they like knew what they were getting type shit, you know. And they just were like, oh, you know, it makes sense for like, because I was so young that it's like a young kid would like rap, you know, or something like that. But like, it was not. But then the first CD ever that like, you know, you're of that age, you know, teenage, like that, or preteen, right? Like when you first
start making,
you know, was like, yeah, it was
what
like
you want to do,
Biggie's Ready to Die.
Yeah,
Biggie's Ready to Die was the one.
that was
for
your
me.
the first one you bought.
Yeah.
That's you see, that's a classic album. It's timeless. And
Yeah.
You're proud of yourself for buying a CD like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is what it is.
Yeah, I wasn't getting out. I wasn't allowed music with swearing, so it was like I wasn't. That explicit lyrical content thing was a huge censor in my life for a long time. In the early music
that's what I'm saying.
days.
In the foster home, it was like that for me.
And it was like, yeah. But yo, I think it's pretty cool. But you said you looked up the lyrics. Were you like looking it up online at that point, or was it like you were guiding a booklet and shit?
After a while, like, so I was looking through books, but after a while they stopped putting them in books, so I would have to go on Google. Even back then, it was like when they had the dial-up, that's where I was getting the lyrics from. I would go to like an after-school program that had the internet, so I would go there, just print up fucking Beanie Siegel, Big Pun, Cannabis, just print up a bunch of shit, go home and read it and study it.
Now, for nothing, you know, you people like you, right? Which is like, I was telling Holden in that beginning section, like part of like why I'm dressed like this is because like we've had a lot of New Yorkers on here, but like I feel like you are a typical New Yorker in a very like proud way. And that like I think that's like something that's dope too. You know what I mean? Like most New Yorkers do tend to be typical, but then want to not be typical, right? So like they'll do things to try to not be the typical New Yorkers that they are. You know what I mean?
No, you gotta embrace that shit.
But like you're very embracing of your like typical New Yorkerness. You know what I mean? And like and like that. I think that speaks to that. You know what I mean?
That's amazing. It's big. Can I just interject to say that the chat is not happy with Flacco's attire, given how hot it is for everyone else on Earth?
Yo, it's so funny because like my crib is so cold, so cool. Like I'm chilling right now. I'm like, yo, I need these layers.
You got the
like,
AC
yo, it's so
there.
Yo, AC is banging on me, yo. What? Like, and I have this shit set to 70, so it's cool as fucking here.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah, it's like we have straight up winter gear on, and I'm like, that's fair. I'm in a tank top, and it's like I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I have the purple lights or whatever, because they are not as bad as the normal. Yo, it's New York weather. We checked it earlier. It's the same weather, the same humidity,
same weather,
same fucking shit. In my room, it's like 95 right now or some shit. Like
they're a bay city by the water, same as us. So like they're, you know what I mean? Like they're a port city. My fault. Yeah. You know what I mean? Same as like us. You
super
know?
Like close to y'all geographically. So
y'all are far.
Yeah, they're like 2 hours up by plane. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's right there. It's like as far as Philly, pretty much. You know what I mean? Except that instead of going down, it's going up. So like maybe they'll get cold a little bit like faster than us.
And a little harder.
But like
a little harder.
Yeah, and a little harder. But like that's the only difference. You know? Like
but it's
pretty
even
much
like
same shit.
Like when you guys describe your weather seasonal changing, same bullshit up here. Like it's the same. And there's so many similarities like that. But yeah.
I love that.
Man, I used to print out the lyrics too. I remember that shit. That's how I was like, say word. I haven't heard anybody bring that up, right? Because usually people are like a little bit too young for that. Like by the time, because that's like you had to be the right age to be at the point where you're on the lyric sites, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And so
but it's the after school program too, so I was taking advantage of that, just using the computer as much as I could.
I was in like the
Yeah,
high school
yeah.
for me. I didn't have that shit at home, right? So it was high school, and then the printer too.
Right.
So at lunchtime, I'd be fucking up there
Exactly.
googling whatever lyrics, printing that shit out, the stacks of papers and whatnot, and that was super fucking relatable.
It's crazy because,
So
like you
two
said, I
things,
never
right?
heard people say they printed up lyrics either. You know what
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
saying? So
nah,
you the first
that's
person
it's
I heard
not
say
it's
that.
not I'm not that demographic, and that's why I was like gonna say, actually, you guys, right? You guys are the fucking ones that made it that genius were geniuses.
Oh, facts.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
absolutely.
Like, thanks to you guys, like they just it's genius. It absolutely is. You know, people want to know the
Just
lyrics
visiting
to
their page
everything.
and shit, yeah.
Like, but I mean, it's because
Yeah.
like
That's ill.
the people before us, if they wanted that, would handwrite it, and I've encountered that before, where people would do the handwriting version of it. But like by the time I'm 12 and I'm like in the things, it's 2000, so like you have the internet enough to find lyrics at whatever the fucking lyric sites were, because there were still lyric
Facts.
sites back then. They just were shit. Then Rap
Right.
Genius changed. Holy shit, Rap, bro! When I found
AZ
Rap Genius,
lyrics.
it blew my fucking mind. And then it became Genius, and now it's a little weird. But like, that was like an amazing
Well, even
whole
back-
journey.
Even back then, like when you find those sites become gold. Like they like, now I'm gonna visit this site a whole shit ton more because I don't just listen to one rapper, or I don't want to know just one song, because you know when you hear songs, you don't really hear. Well, for me, I didn't really get some words when songs was being rapped. So I'm like, what did he say there? So I go get the lyrics and find out what he said there. You know what I'm saying? So those sites was gold for us at that time. Those times.
That's hella cool that you brought that up, Stills. So at that point, though, you're still like a fan of music then, right? Or are you interested of writing? Because you said there's like freestyles and shit going on around. So are you like all integrated into that culture at all?
Nah, like I said, I was never a fan of that music. It was just there, so I would hear it. I wouldn't diss it. I wouldn't say it's trash, but I just wasn't going crazy when I heard it. That's all. And I know it's good music, but I'm just not going crazy about it.
Right.
As I got older, is when Notorious Thugs came out. That's when I was like, yeah, this shit is ill. That's when I was sold on it. You know what I'm saying? Just hip hop.
This matters to me at that point, like type
Yeah,
of shit.
exactly.
Yeah.
Biggie had just died, and then that song right there was just super ill to me.
Yeah, that's what I mean to when I say like Ready to Die, because like before that, I had OPP's tape, and my brother got me in trouble by telling my parents what the fuck OPP stood for. But like, it didn't matter to me, you know. Like, it wasn't like it mattered. Like, that Ready to Die was when it was like, oh, this matters to me, you know.
Right. Yeah, but you see, I didn't even know the album. Like I said, I was still at that time I was still looking in the booklets, so I didn't have the CD or nothing. But I knew that song, and that song was like, yeah, this is what I'm fucking with.
So, so what happens after you hear that song? Then does it make you like decide to become more of a fan of it, or do you have a desire to start creating?
I'm fanned out at this point. At this point, I'm a fan all the way till the 7th grade. My friend T Gunner, that's my nigga. That's my nigga that been in all my battles. You always see him with me. That's my man. Shout out T Gunner. He used to fucking do the Weird Al Yankovic shit in the back of the class. He used to remake songs. At that time, Juvenile, Back That Ass Up was out. And he just remade the whole song. And he let me read it. And I was like, I'll join it. I'll do the shit too. So we just started remaking. We did I'll Be Missing You by Puff. We just remade a bunch of songs on some troll shit. And it started from there.
Were you like recording them or just like writing them?
Nah, just writing them down and putting it on like a voice recorder. You know, the little tape shit we used to have back in the day. That was it. We was too young to go to the studio.
Were you
We
like?
didn't even know how to access one at that time. Word.
So I guess what happens next with it all is you're going through like high school or whatever, or that's middle school, right? That's middle school.
We was in middle school, yeah.
So like, is there like any kind of a live culture around you where people's be rapping and stuff, or is it more like a low key thing?
It's low key, for the most part. So after middle school is when we started like getting in ciphers and hitting the corners and going to other blocks and doing what most New York rappers do. Killing niggas in high school, killing niggas in the GD program, just fucking everybody up. Just standing out in whatever cipher you in. That's like during high school. That's when we got into the culture for real.
Do you want to elaborate on that just a little bit with more details for other people that don't fully appreciate what... I mean, I personally have heard other people say it, but everybody says it different. It adds this extra flavor to the total story. So it'd be really cool to hear your version of what it's like to be like in high school, running through it.
I mean, so we cut school. So when I say we was rapping in high school, killing niggas in high school, we was killing niggas who was cutting school. So we'll meet outside a bunch of niggas that's doing what we do, and we all just start rapping. It'll start off as a cipher and turn into, now I'm better than you, nigga. Boom. And then it just go all out for. And back then, we was freestyling a lot too. It wasn't really no writtens for us. Well, for me, we used to freestyle like a motherfucker back then. It wasn't really nothing set up or nothing. We got kicked out of high school, GD program. Niggas is rapping in the hallway. This is not high school at all. This shit is damn near college, the GD program. So students is running this bitch. This is the asylum. This is Joke is asylum. He's in the asylum running shit. We running the school and we rapping in the hallways. Teachers walking past us. Teachers rapping with us. That type of shit. We'll come to school with another written next day. Let's do it again. Same niggas battling again, back to back. Same, I'ma see you again, doing it again every day. Same shit. And that lasted until we graduated. And then we'll leave the school and go rap again, so somebody crib. Like, that type of shit. It just didn't stop for a while, a long while. I had nothing better to do.
I mean, that's still a pretty good use of time.
Yeah, but you know, if like, so we rapping and doing shit that we're not supposed to be doing. So it's kind of a waste of time too. We're having fun rapping, but we just.
I'm gonna have to say, when I listen to your battle raps later on in life, right, which apparently was lucrative for you as a human, one could argue that was a developmental training to deliver that level of precision later on, but with the authenticity to back it up. So thus, I don't know if it was fully a waste of time. It just may have not been the most efficient use of time.
So you put it that way. That's dope.
Big facts.
I mean,
big facts. Yeah, no, I don't see it as a waste because without all that, you know, going and doing all that, you wouldn't have been able to, you know, become who you became in battle rap.
Bro, you have like this, you know, dead ass look in your eyes and shit. Like, you don't get a dead ass look in your eyes out of nowhere, right? You have to have, you know, that has to.
That's another New York thing too. Like, everybody, not everybody, but most people who's from New York got that look. Dutch got it, but he smiles a lot. You see him smiling right now, but he got that.
He's very quick to throw that look out.
Big facts.
Very quick. Yeah. Change face.
That's.
So that's fresh. So you're running through that. I guess at what point does it like kind of like evolve? Are there like do you evolve, I guess, from just freestyling and battling around to like, do you want to like start writing songs at a certain point, or is it more like the battle thing is really it?
So throughout that time that I explained, high school and all that, GD, we love freestyle. We love hearing another rapper jump on the hottest beat, the hottest song that's out at the time, and kill it themselves. We always wanted to kill that shit better than that nigga did, the original owner of the song. So if it was a fucking knock yourself out at the time that was out, Jada Kiss, we all rapping on that beat. So it wasn't really songs, but it was just we'll write some of the illest shit that we thought of to other people's beats. I would say that's like how our versions of songs started.
Yeah, but that's fair because it ties in, but it also ties into the culture of what's happening there, right? I'm not mistaken, at that
Yeah.
time, that's when 50 Cent's also really doing that with his mixtapes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, that's what I told Blimey when we were talking to Blimes, that I was just like, or no, Gab, that we were talking to Gift to Gab, and she said, you know, that all she was doing was like rapping over shit. And I'm like, yeah, but like that is a demo back then. Like back then, that was a demo. Like at that point in time in hip hop, freestyling over other people's beats kind of became people's demos. And you'd have like a collection of like just you freestyling over people's beats. And sometimes labels would actually sign that shit. So
yeah, that's a fact. Exactly. And those instrumentals was so accessible at the time. I'll buy one CD, my man got another one, he got another one. We tossing these shits around. Yo, right to that. And boom. It wasn't as easy as it is today to just find a producer to give you original beats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's big facts. And were you like trying to push this as like mixtapes or anything, or was it just like for the sake of making them?
This was all fun, man. I just had fun doing it. It was just like I never thought like I wanted to be a rapper, but I never thought like I could do it. To be honest with you, that was never my mindset. But yeah, it was just to do it, to have fun, passing time.
I mean, turns out it was a pretty good way to pass time, is all I'm gonna say. But like, so I guess what happens after you finish with school?
Well, I got my GED, but I didn't get my GED while I was going. I got it years later. Like, I took the test and got it. So I just dropped out of school and just doing dumb shit, just being a dumb young kid, bro.
You know what though? I did the same. Not the same exact, right? But like I look at it all as like I needed to walk that path. You know, like without walking that path, you wouldn't have ended up where you ended up. Where you ended up isn't that bad. You know what I mean? It made you into the man that you are, you know, and everything that you have now is a blessing. So it's like, you needed to walk that way and do all those fuck ups so that you could get on your straight and narrow, you know? There's nothing, you know how many people like go right, like we've heard the term before of midlife crisis, you know, and what was it that Nas said with the grown men, like with the man children, you know what I mean? Like, so like, you know, it's just one of those things where like we've heard a lot of people talk about, you know, like being older and then going through young shit because why? You didn't do it when you were young. You know what I mean? Like if anything, you did the right thing. You fucked up when you were supposed to fuck up when you were young. You know, like there's nothing worse than being like 40, 50, you know what I mean? Still fucking up like you a teenager making moves out here like you a teenager because you wanted to be a straight narrow, straight edge your whole teens and 20s, and then you get to your 50s, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to die without doing, you know what I mean? Then it's like, look at you out here looking crazy.
I'm never tripping on it. You know what I'm saying? I say it like that so motherfuckers who are watching understand that you don't gotta be doing dumb shit. And if you want to do it, do it. Just make sure you get right when you can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, be ready to live with the circumstances. So I'm pretty sure there came a lot of repercussions and circumstances to like the actions of like living how you lived, you know, and you were able to deal with them, and those are what helped mold you into the man that you are. If you're not the type of person that's built for that, you might not want to try to do that.
Or at the very least, my general rule of thumb is if you put yourself in the situation, don't complain about it after.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, like, within reason, you know, like don't play the victim of a situation if you put yourself there. Not to say like, I mean, this is just everything in life, right? You know, but it is probably better to do dumb shit in general, of all kinds of dumb shit, whatever that may mean, when you're young, because people remember shit way longer when you're 26. If you throw up at an office event when you're 26 because you didn't manage your drinking right, they don't forget that the way that they'll forget it when you're 21. They'll forget the 21-year-old version. They don't forget the 26-year-old version.
Nah,
yeah, that's a fact.
Absolutely. Big facts.
But yeah, So like, at what point then, like, does it like get to a point where you're like battle rapping and like evolving into like this more like serious thing, where you're just demolishing people?
So you asked about any mixtape. So I was working on a project with some dudes, my niggas, those are my niggas to this day. We used to call ourselves the Street Veterans, and we worked on an album. We finished it, but never put it out. So once that happened, I was so my baby mom's cousin's baby daddy knows Express Money. So I meet Express Money through them.
I'm not sure who Express Money is.
Yes, I know who Express Money is.
He's a battle rapper from the Bronx as well. You can check him out. He got
fresh.
He asked me, yo, you ever heard of King of the Ring? And I'm like, nah, what's that? And he's like, yo, these niggas is battling, whatever, you know, come through or whatever. And I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. So he's like, you gotta holler at Vague though. I'm like, who's Vague? He's telling me it's the guy that runs this shit. I go look at the battles, and I'm like, I'm gonna go over here and fuck somebody up if they let me in. So I email Vague. He asked me if I had any battles or if I was experienced or whatever. And you know, I'm like, no, I don't got no footage, but I rap, nigga. I know what I'm doing. So he said, you have MySpace. I sent him my MySpace, and he set me up to battle right after I gave him the MySpace. And it was on from there. So I didn't get nobody to talk to Vague. I had to talk to Vague myself. But they put me on how to do it, you know what I'm saying? So I got in on my own, like just I want to rap, I want to battle. I would fuck everybody up in this league. That's how I felt.
And who was the first opponent that he gave you?
Excuse me. His name is Amateur. He's from Jersey. He battled on Block City before.
What?
A to the M, he used to call himself.
A to the M. Okay, yeah. Copy. Yo, back in the days, some of the battle rap names was like I remember being wild upset at C4. Like, bro, when I Google the words, the letter C and the number 4, C4 comes up as in the explosive. You want to know why? Because it's a very popular explosive. Why would you name yourself that? Like, I'm never gonna find you. Like, it's the worst. Why? The name amateurs, like, what, you want me to Google the word amateur? You know what's gonna come up, right? It's the definition for the word amateur.
Right, yeah. But you see, I didn't know who he was. They didn't tell me. They just told me come.
What?
Like,
say word. So this was like completely off the dome, unprepared shit, right?
Well, not really. I had raps, but these raps could be spit at you.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I could rap these shits to anybody. So that's really what it was.
So it's not so like personalized at that, because part of it too is like not all of us were like, you know, following battle rap back then enough to know what was fully going on, and so there's a lot of questions like, why did beats stop? When did it change like this? When it was like that? So even just the formatting of that, to be like, okay, so you come in with a bunch of like arsenal ready to go at anybody because you don't know who the fuck is gonna be. So now you got to prepare for all kinds of circumstances. That is what I'm gonna guess. So yeah, can you tell us a bit more about that?
So the crazy shit about that, right? Vague never had an opponent for me. I called him the day of the battle. He said, yo, I got a monster for you. Listen to this. I'm like, all right, cool. I already knew. So he says, I got Joe Light. And I'm like, oh shit, I know Joe Light. At that time, free Joe Light, by the way. At that time.
Yeah, free Joe Light. I did not know he was locked.
Yeah, at that time, that nigga was smacking niggas' hats and touching niggas and doing wild shit.
Joe Light was wild, disrespectful. He was I think, wasn't he before Arsenal, kind of like with the disrespectful? Like, he was known for his disrespectful nature more so than anybody, and that was before Arsenal's disrespectful nature was a thing. Right, so like Joe Light was like the first disrespectful dude like that.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, damn, this nigga's about to go crazy. So I'm preparing myself for I gotta fucking go crazy. I gotta turn up on Joe Light because he gonna turn up on me and he gonna try to get crazy with me. I was damn near dolo. Express came and a couple other homies came, but so when I got there, it was mad niggas in the spot. So when I got there, Joe's not there. It's the amateur kid. So he's like, yo, you gonna battle him. Cause you know, Vague at this time is still trying to like get his shit popping. So he ain't really have that many battlers or battles set up for the night. So it was one of those walk in and just battle. You didn't have an opponent. So I battled amateur. The battle was bad, bro. I'm gonna keep it all the way real with y'all. The battle was no good. So they said I lost too. Which I don't think I lost, but whatever. They said the battle was bad. So look, right? So Vague, I'm like, yo, what's good? I want another plate. Cause I know that wasn't the shit I normally do. That was the let me get this shit off of me, and when I come back, I'm gonna get right. So I told Vague, yo, trust me, bro. Just give me another plate. Cause he was like, yo, I don't know, your battle was lackluster. I wasn't feeling it. Nobody really fucking with it like that. I'm like, all right, give me another plate, bro. And he like, all right, cool. He sets me up with fucking, y'all know Jay Parks? You know Jay Parks. You remember his man Caked Up Clips?
No.
I was supposed to battle him.
Okay.
He never showed up. Long story short, another dude from South Carolina chose to step up, and he got his shit waxed in front of everybody. So, and this was in Blockwork Studio. So, you know, wow. Fred the God is in there. Motherfucking Bullet Boys is in there. Matt, it's flooded. So I fucked him up in front of a lot of people, bro. And from there on, it was on. And I knew that was my last shot with Vig. And I wanted to fuck with Vig because that was like the new Bronx.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so sorry, what does the new Bronx mean?
What happened?
What does the new Bronx mean?
Like the new league in the Bronx, like because at this time the leagues was just starting to pop. Prime time was already popping, so there's different new leagues coming out. And Vague was based in King of the Ring was based in the Bronx.
Yeah,
so I wanted to fuck with King of the Ring. I knew that I could have went somewhere else, but I really wanted to fuck with King of the Ring. So
that's dope.
I made sure to to get it right there.
So that's fresh.
Yeah, you're right though. That is what it was, right? Like at the time, Grind Time, East Coast. Grind Time wasn't even East Coast yet. It was Grind Time New York still, right? Because like exactly. All that they had, like Grind Time was so new that it was like, oh, Grind Time Florida, Grind Time Cali, Grind Time Midwest, and Grind Time New York. And it kind of felt like, oh well, they all battle, like all the battles are happening in Manhattan, and you know, yeah, there's people from all over involved, but this is like represents the like whole city. While like it was Grind Season TV, right? King of the Ring, TV. Grind Season TV, King of the Ring was like a very like, yo, this all the events were happening in the Bronx, in the like hood of the Bronx, and like the Bronx rappers and like underground like were coming out to these events. And even us, a lot of the uptown people would be from Grind Time would be at those events too. And so yeah, I could understand wanting to be, you know, like there's like kids that now, you know, are like they wanted to be a part of Brooklyn Mic Club, or like, you know, we go hard. They want their borough. They want to rep for that league from their borough or their city, you know?
It's almost like making it to the NBA. You want to get drafted by the Knicks because you're from New York.
Yeah, I mean, listen. When I used to go out for the draft league, when I was first getting the draft league going, like I would show up to these other leagues to like essentially draft the challenge into the draft league to battle for us, so that we could see if like we would be able to get, because at that time we were starting to try to quality control what was going on the Grind Time channel, because they were like the fans were complaining that it was just too much content that wasn't great. And New York, always being New York and always being able to be honest with ourselves, we wanted to like make sure that we had like the best content going up. So like we wanted the draft league to be like this, like, you know, we see if the talent can, you know, be main stage shit. Like we were essentially starting what URL goes by now. You know what I mean? And when I used to go to these other leagues, I would go like in a Yankees jacket because I felt like yo, I'm drafting you to the Yankees, bro. Like you coming to the best team. You know what I mean? Like yo, it's time, kid. Yeah. Know what I mean? Come play for the Yankees, son. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, all sports analogies for the rest of the conversation.
Right, exactly. Just to simplify it for everybody else.
That's fair. It makes sense. I appreciate it still, because like nobody talked about it one time beforehand. This King of the Ring thing in this league, this loyalty to Bronx. We talked to a bunch of battle rappers from all kinds of tiers and different places in it. So like it helps me appreciate that more. Like I know what Fred the Godson is. That's a name I recognize. So just the idea of like, oh, say word, that like adds this like extra legitimacy to why you would care about it, you know? Right. And I think it helps a lot of other people appreciate it too, because I feel like battle rap is super hard to get into. Not like it's bad, but like I really fuck with battle rap on some I didn't understand that shit. And then Flacko's like, you're talking to Iron Solomon. Go. And I'm like, oh, say word. And then it's been a lot of battle rappers since. And so it took a minute. You know, every time I would go through and learn a little bit more. Now I can appreciate it. I really do appreciate battle rap in like a whole deeper way as a culture. And like learning the history is fucking exciting for me. But adding that layer of context helps a lot of other people who may not understand battle rap understand it easier, because yo, that's not some shit you can just Google and it's easy to understand after Googling. So it's super cool to hear about just all of that era. And like, what's it like to even promote yourself as that person, being the rapper? Like, are you still trying to push music at this time? Like, because I know everybody's got their songs playing in these videos after, and like, you know, y'all referencing Twitter shit. So like, what's it like to be involved in that era of social media, promoting that vibe back then?
Like I said, man, I never really got into making songs like that, even while battle rapping, because I'm a bar head. I just want to hear bars. I want to hear rap. I want to see how. I'm not gonna say lyrical you get, because that shit is cliche, but I want to see how creative you can get. Which that was always my shit. So just promoting myself, it was really just battle rap stuff, like talking shit to you on Twitter. I never was the blog guy, but it was just mostly just putting a card up, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker, tag him in it, that type of shit. And that's really it. It wasn't really never put a song out and do this and do that, because that music wasn't really like my shit. It's just raps. I want to rap. I'm a rap head, bar head, do bars. That was me. In that time.
So y'all
I remember at that time, like thinking to myself that like about like Pax always had a flow that would sound. That's why like we're making music together now, you know, because like I always was like a strong believer in the fact that like he would sound good on track, because he's got a natural flow and cadence that is just built for music.
You hear it though.
Like, yeah.
Like it's so clear. Like I was like, listen, when I hear you rapping in the battle, it's honestly like you can hear the metronome underneath your voice in every one of them. Just like this precision to the timing where it's like on beat. You can hear the beat playing, which is like, so it's like I hear you saying it, but it's like, it's just so baffling. I mean, it's not, because I hear what you're saying, and then in a sense, y'all are like the ones that like bred off into this whole world of battle rap that is today, where it's not really about the music so much as it is about that whole thing. I know a whole bunch of people on Facebook right now that really don't give a fuck about songs. It's really just about this.
But you know, what Flacko was saying, yo, like rapping on a beat to me is super duper easy. Like, it's easy to find the flow. It's very easy to be creative. It's easy to make words bounce off each other. Battle rapping is super hard to me. It's hard. I gotta focus on this dude. I gotta find the angle. I gotta fucking be creative, and I gotta have bars. And I gotta be entertaining and funny. I don't have to do that on a song.
Yeah.
I could just kill you with a flow, bars, wordplay, fire beat.
Yeah, usually if you're making a song, you're focused, right? Like I've worked with some rappers that like I criticize because I'm like, yo, like you don't stay on topic for a song, because that's like a typical rapper who doesn't really know about, you know, song structures. It's just like, yo, I rap and whatever comes to mind, it's just bars about whatever, you know? And it's just like, that's dope. But like, if we're talking about on a song, a particular topic, and you're just like all over the place, dropping bars about all sorts of random shit, just like, this does not go, sir. Like, this don't go right, you know? But in battle rap, you are right. Like, you gotta bust out all your whole entire arsenal of like whatever you have, you know. Like, rarely is the time that you get to battle and just do one thing for the whole battle without really having to rely on other things. Nah, like, it's always way more than one thing. It's a lot of intricacy, and it's a lot of different tonalities that you hit, strategy and tonalities, and just all sorts of things you got to do, period.
So that, I think that's what made me do it more. Just more of a challenge. It was more funding, and then making people like, oh, it's better than the song. Dude. I'm gonna be real. Just making people in the room go crazy for you is better than just writing a song.
Yeah. No, it's definitely like the way it hits different, you know, like, it's different. It's a different feeling. Like, there's no, I think that's why a lot of like artists, right, when they like talk on in different interviews, like I've heard the question always be asked a lot, like, what do you prefer, like making music or performing, you know? And like most artists like love the making music process, and you need it in order to perform, but like they way more prefer the performing part, because you get to interact with the energies of other people, and like there's no more gratifying feeling than in the moment seeing something that you're doing take like effect over a person, and then be like entertained by what you're doing. And like their reaction, the more positive it is, the more that it like, that's why when people like criticize like things online, I kind of scoff, because it's like, that already existed. Like, people being like, oh, you know, the likes and the this and the that cause endorphins. It's like, yeah, same as like people liking your shit in real life makes you feel cool and like you're the man, you know? Like, the same way that a woman liking you is gonna make you maybe swagger more, you know? Like, it's just, it is what it is. Like, we naturally feel better when people like the things that we're doing, you know, on Earth, period. All humans, you know?
What's ill about that is, so if you're writing a battle rap, right, and you know this shit is hard, they react to that, right? And then you wrote something that you know might not get no love, but if it does get love, that's a great feeling, because you didn't expect it to hit. On a song, you're not gonna get that kind of reaction. It's just a different thing. Like, you say some old shit, you turn to the nigga, he like, ooh, and you like, oh, you was feeling that, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just, it's just that energy is different. For me.
It's super different. Like, I mean,
absolutely.
I feel like even just the fans are different, right? Like, I don't know that I could deal with battle rap fans, like, as a human. Like, that's a whole vibe where, like, I'm happy to be in the crowd, maybe on like the outskirts. I don't even know if I'd want to be like in the middle of the battle rap circle. That looks like a serious energy. Like, yo, sometimes it looks like shit's gonna pop off and shit, and I'm like, I don't know if that's my cup of tea. But that like concert vibe fucks with it heavy. But even then, I was thinking about it. We were at this thing on Sunday, and I'm like freestyling at like people walking by, and they were just reacting to like the fact that I was talking to them. I'm like, yeah, that's not a song. That's like a whole other thing. That's actually pretty fucking great. I mean, I can get it, but you're like one of the first people I've talked to ever that's like, yo, you know what? Songwriting's boring. I'm gonna go do this fucking rapper thing. I'm gonna go fucking do the hard thing because I find that fun. And I'm like, that's a dope reason to pursue that. Like, that's amazing. Like, that's like,
yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, no, but look, I'm dead serious too. Like, I'm not trying to be cocky or nothing. Like, I felt like battle rap just challenged me, and I'm already good at rapping. In my head, I'm like, yo, I can rap. So now I just got to learn how to do this. I was already watching Murder Mook, Serious Jones, and Hami Ham and those guys. So I'm like, and my man's always told me too, yo, you'll be super nice at that. And that was before I thought about it. And then later down the line, I started doing it for real. So yeah, it's just because I was challenging myself, basically.
So what happens as the battle rap progresses? Like, how long do you run that for?
Oh man, I was in battle rap since 2011, all the way to, I'm gonna say 2017. That was my last battle.
That's just
I'm
serious.
itching to come back, but it got to be the right thing. But yeah, it was about 7 years straight. I battled.
Yeah, that's crazy. Cause
Yeah.
So like, tell us a bit about like the evolution in your career, right? Like, so you start off and you're in this King of the Ring situation. I know that at some point there's this thing where you're with Flacko sitting there and he looks like he's not having a nice night and you're battling the next man's. And then it goes on to other situations. But like, yeah, anything you can share from that would be super interesting.
So battle rap is really wrestling, bro. You remember Bret Hart? He was the guy that everybody loved, and then easily became the guy that everybody hated.
Yeah.
As soon as Stone Cold came around, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that storyline, but battle rap is really like wrestling. So when I first started, it was everybody loved it. Everybody was fucking with me, and me, I want to battle the best people. So I'm gonna talk shit to who I think is the best people. And when you start doing that, the fans of these said battle rappers get involved. So now you get the hate that you wasn't getting before, which it's hard to deal with at first. So, because everybody was loving me at first. So now you got to find a way to get these people back on your side. So the beginning, it was all love. About the middle of my career is when I started dealing with I became the villain. When I went to the draft league, I was a villain in King of the Ring, bro. Nobody liked me. Everybody wanted war. And I was with all of that. This is what I want.
Yeah, so, you were playing a super heel over there. Like even the Jay Quest battle felt like that was that situation, you know?
Yeah.
Like
the crowd is against me, and I'm like, yo, cool. It's hard to deal with though. Don't think like this is some easy shit to deal with. But yeah, it's really an up and down thing. And then you get to a point in your career where like nobody's questioning you anymore. We know you nice. We can't say you trash no more. So now we gotta kind of accept you in a way. Because you know, if you're not really feeling somebody, but you know that man is nice. For instance, Averb. I don't like him as a person, but that motherfucker's a rapper. He's nice. You feel me? So it became like that for me at the end of my run. Like it was like, yeah, Pax, he do what he do. Everybody knew that. So it's real wrestling shit for me. That's how I can describe it.
It makes a lot of sense.
Holden actually, I think, like always kind of like likens it to wrestling in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense in terms, maybe not like the actual, well, I mean, even within the battle rapping, because there's a lot of like actual skill elements that are not like wrestling per se, but when you look at the marketing, look at what they're doing right now. It's straight out of the WWE handbook. It's almost like they said, oh, say word, everybody involved likes the WWE, and then and it's the best shit ever. I'm almost like, yo, why aren't like local rappers everywhere doing this shit, because that shit's really effective. But end of the day, it's like you have to have the faces and the heels coming at each other, the way the dynamics get created, almost like storylines play out over Twitter. Because even the little shit talk, it's kind of like, you know, Randy Orton talking some smack next to the ring or whatever.
Exactly. But you know, every rapper doesn't do it because every rapper can't do it. Some people don't have the ego to stand in front of a suck my dick, or to stand in front of your mother's a hoe. You know, people can't do that shit. So that's one reason why most rappers don't do it like that.
So you're saying people don't want to battle you because of the degree of what you're willing to do?
Well, not me, because you said you don't know why.
Sorry.
Rappers don't go this route. More rappers in the game that don't go this route, and it's because they can't stand in front of that type of shit. I'm not the only one saying shit like that.
Right.
All these battle rappers are gonna say very mean things to you. So
yeah, I mean that's what I was saying. In the middle of like us coming from streaming your battles to like this EOW Zoom network. Shouts to EOW. End of the week. When we were switching over, we were playing your battle with Jay Quest. And like Jay Quest said something about skeeting in your baby.
He said some wild shit. He said, like, I know that line because it was wild to me. He said, I needed a nut, so I put my dick in the baby.
What? Like that. I was just like I was just like, bro, like battle rap used to be so like wild, like just like unnecessary. Where it's just like, yo. The shock factor didn't have to go there, bro. Like we really didn't have to do all that. Like you could have, you didn't have to do all that. You know, like we've kind of chilled that out, and I think that that's a good look for battle rap. You know,
did a good
like
job at it too.
Yeah.
Like calming that
down.
I have a question though about one of the past battles. You went on about a guy who dropped a hot dog on the floor and then picked it up and ate it, and he kept saying, "No, this isn't a true story," which left me to wonder, was it a true story?
All right. Shout out to Rosenberg Raw.
Shout out to Rosenberg Raw. I was saying in the middle of us watching, like, he's dope too. You know what I mean? Like,
super fire.
Super fire.
So I don't know if you're familiar with OTBVA, does?
Yes, of course I am.
Yes.
Crazy. I had those guys. Those guys had like my logo with the OTBVA around it. Like, I was an official member. So
them dudes, whoever controls that Twitter page, shout out to you because you're fucking hilarious. He used to put a lot of like Rosenberg Raw slander on the page. So he said he was at Nome, and he said, "I can't believe I just saw Rosenberg Raw pick up his hot dog and eat it." He dropped it on the floor, picked it up, and ate it. So I thought that shit was fucking hilarious. I have a battle with you in about 2 weeks. I'm gonna use this. So that's really what it was. And no, that's not true. The story is totally false.
Battle rap history,
you see what battle rap does?
Shouts out to OTBVA. I mean, it's not like necessarily a group of people that I'm like proud to shout out, right? Because like there is like for as many cool people that I might have met on there were equal amounts, if not bigger, like number of like people I would not fuck with in real life because I could tell that you're like a super piece of shit. Like your views and the way that you talk is just like you will not talk like that in person. So like, you know, I don't want to like shout them out. And they also like had some like depraved shit happen on there. You know what I mean? So like no shouts to them, but shouts to the cool people from there. You know what I mean? Word. Because I did meet a lot of cool people online from there.
Right. I just took that and used it as an angle. You know what I'm saying?
Which is smart and dope, by the way. This is what battle back then. Also, it's not like there was like, it's not like now. I feel like now there's so much that people can go off your online presence. Like back in the days, it wasn't a lot. So it was like, you know what? Like they're hating on him.
Any little thing I'm gonna take.
You dropped the hot dog on the floor and ate it.
The one I can say that it stuck out to me so much, and I believed you. You have to understand. You may have convinced a whole group of people If this man,
he convinced people exactly. This is what I'm saying,
and that's incredible.
Like,
all because some guy on Twitter did some
which is
shit.
not again.
And then he
Preface
probably
it, right?
knew
Let's
about that
follow
tweet,
it up with,
right?
which is not true. Which is not true.
In the battle,
and
he's
he
like,
smiled like he
in the
knew.
battle, he laughed, but he was saying,
that's not true.
For.
Yeah. Which is,
so
by the way, again, to include, this is not true. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And while respect and shouts to
Rosenberg
Raw and
he
shit.
He front on the line.
Yeah.
He clapped. That was like, that was good. So yeah.
Yeah, Rosenberg Raw is cool.
Yeah, it was hilarious, and then his reaction was hilarious, and then
exactly. He was like, "When?"
But that's it, right? Because that's what makes you go like, "Yo, say a word." Now I believe you. That sounds like a guy who's trying to like deflect on this fucking hot dog thing. I didn't actually do that, or whatever he says later on. And I'm like, that's what a guy who did eat the hot dog would say. And I'm like, you got in this motherfucker's head. And it's some shit he probably read on Twitter.
He asked me at the end of it, like, if it's true, and I'm like, I don't know, but he's gonna be on later. We could ask Pax himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not true, man. Shout out Rosenberg. Man.
Like because half the shit in battle rap is some reference that everybody fucking gets on some inside joke shit. So it's equally as plausible that like that was a thing that everybody fucking knew about, because half the shit y'all say is a triple entendre for an inside joke that's for like the person in the room.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not in the room. I'm just watching that shit.
You saying that I would never know people see it that way. You know what I'm saying? Because I think whoever's watching this knows. That's how I look at it.
Nah, that's the thing, and that's the thing about battle rap is that like there's so much access that it's just like and you want it to be welcoming, but it's also hard to do both. It's hard to entertain the crowd that is there and is involved, and you can get like a reaction out of them through these using some of these tactics. I
mean, I don't even think it needs to be compromised in any way like that. Like it should be like that, but like the people once you understand it's like that, it's amazing because now you're looking for it. Now you're trying to figure it out. Now you're like going from why is that gentleman interrupting the show to that guy said that's fucking funny. That's like the guys in the background that serve as the ad lib track to your fucking battle. It might have become my favorite part of most battles because it's so preposterous what drunk people will say to the things you say.
Yeah, fact.
Yo, I promise you that some of those people were not drunk and they did exactly what they did on purpose. Like they were also, and I think that somebody there, I don't know, you might be able to say you were shouting out your man that's always there. Is he one of right? Like I think about one of my people that's always there, right? My boy Panic, that like he'd be like reacting so loudly that I'd be like, bro, come on, chill the fuck. Like, yo, but like it ends up being that like people love that shit, right? Like people love
that, like single voice
the homie that's like like extra
that's
in the back.
And you feel embarrassed, like yo.
I feel embarrassed every time. I'm like, oh my god, bro. Like
I don't even take it because when you're watching this shit later, I'm not going, that's the homie. I'm going, that like that's just what it is, right? Because you can't tell the difference.
It's just a random guy in the crowd.
It's all because you'll see it at King of the Dot on a huge stage. It's not at that point it's random guy in the crowd, and then it's like it's everywhere. So like no matter what's here, it could be 8 guys in a room and somehow it's still happening.
But that's happening more now because these guys are really fans. Like I've seen a dude behind somebody rooting on him, patting his back, like then his opponent going crazy on his man. He was patting his back. He go, keep going, Pat. He rooting him on. So it's like they out there now, and you're gonna see a lot more of that coming, especially when they open back up.
Yeah, I'm with it. Especially because you got like the noise making apps and stuff where like you're encouraged to like participate in the general thing. Plus now there's a lot of reviews and podcast breakdowns and like people got creative with the way that they explain battle rap, I think, on the internet. And I mean, I haven't gone that deep into battle rap media, but I know that it's an expanding platform that makes it a lot more accessible in that regard, which is to me super encouraging. And shut up Verse Tracker, I don't know what the fuck I
Yo,
do with
verse
my
tracker is the shit. I was telling him,
That shit is super
like,
dope.
it is super dope. Like, it's like they're kind of like the Wikipedia of the battle rap world. You know what I mean?
Much, yeah.
Like without being the Wikipedia, because they don't have no like bios or nothing like that, right?
No,
Right.
But
they
they
have
do have.
small enough
I mean, they
bios to
do.
give me
They
like base
do for some
information, like
people.
what neighborhood is this person from, and it's been actually helpful because yo, sometimes it's a guessing game from your socials, but
Yeah.
like, so like a little bit, and it'll have like
A
that
little bit, but
one little
it's not
paragraph.
like, you know, like it ain't like Wikipedia, you know, but
No.
still, like, what the fact that they went through the trouble of getting most guys on their site and
It's everybody,
having
bro.
most everybody, and like all your battles are there, and like you have like a record sometimes, and like people have voted. It's just like, yo, this is dope, yo. This is dope.
And when you see your face up there, Dutch, you like, oh shit, look at me, right? Like,
Look at me.
these
Look
niggas
at
got me up
me.
here,
I did a
you know?
thing or two, huh?
Yeah, like that shit is super dope, especially for
Yeah.
someone that's not really even trying that hard and he made himself get on verse track.
And
So,
it said,
Mhm.
and it had a 6-figure number next to your name in terms of views. So like, with only
Really?
15 battles. So I would argue that's pretty fucking impressive, all things considered. I know
Very.
that my views per video average is very low by comparison to that.
shit,
But
that,
like,
man, I didn't know that.
that was one of the first things that popped out. I was like, yo, say a word, this guy's got battles get views.
Now, I haven't battled in a while, so that's dope. I didn't know that.
I mean, the other version of it is you haven't battled for a while and they weren't getting clicked on, which is much not as good. So I'd say you're in a great one. No, to me, it's cool though. Like, I think that's how it is. And you probably have people who come back and like rewatch this shit. Like, they're like classic battles to people, or like, you know, the way they set up the site, you click through people because you can go through the opponents. So it's got like this organic system built into it.
I wouldn't be surprised if like in the near future, like essentially we are like what's considered like the pioneers of like battle rap, because that gets, but like people start believing that this is the beginning of battle rap instead of like knowing, you know, but like it, technically speaking, it is the beginning of like modern battle rap, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, we are the pioneers
Or
of
like
that
structure.
shit.
Like, you could argue that like
Structured.
yeah, because like it goes from, if you, I mean, I've talked to a few people, I'm not going to pretend like I know a lot, but you listen to all the regions and it goes from being something that's very regionalized in the way that sports may have been regionalized at first with a lot of house rules, and everywhere has their own house rules, to all of a sudden now there are like terms and conditions that people from anywhere can agree upon on a standard thing. Things like how long is the rounds going to be, how many rounds, how much is the bag worth. But all these things got established over some level of bureaucratic process, and that is a super fair statement to say that standardizing battle rap into like the modern format is a hella big accomplishment.
We ushered it in, I would say that for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, you know, and like a whole young generation of kids grow up on, you know, because like I see it from, and I'm pretty sure you did too, like where like I look at some of my fans throughout the years and I'm like, yo, I had some fans start out real young, like fucking kids, like hitting me up like 10, 12, you know, 11, like, and then like I see them essentially grow up through my Facebook news feed, you know, and then they become battlers. So like, yeah, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if like in the future it's
And
even
like,
more so like that, and it's its own subculture and thing.
But then if you got to add into the fact that so like when you're like trying to like look back on it now, right? What really exists is YouTube. And there is a lot of stuff on YouTube for sure. But the way YouTube works is unless you know what you're looking for, you're only going to get like the big shit from the history. So there's the people who made efforts to document whatever it is, but mostly you're getting shit with views, not like the real picture. And so like I notice a lot of people, like when they look back even on hip hop in New York and things like that, they're not aware of so many nuances of the experiences of you growing up with as rappers. So they get the what got as recorded history version of hip hop, and that it gets interpreted into their localized culture, versus people who lived it in some way and it was their life. you know. So in a lot of ways, people are kind of gonna have 2008 be like the start of battle rap, honestly, because what the fuck else exists? I mean, yeah, you might find Smack DVDs and shit, but it's been made clear to me that that shit's not really available the way it was, and we're gonna find fractions and fragments of that. And so the beginning of coherent battle rap, however anyone might like this or not, is gonna be like, you know, that like early 2006 to 8 YouTube videos, and then it gets organized. And that's, I don't see how it plays out differently, because your battle rap forums are not fun to comb through. So I don't know if people are really gonna do that.
Speak for yourself.
I mean, like,
but yeah. I don't think they're fun either. I don't think they're fun either, right?
But it's not even because they're battle rap forums, it's because they're forums.
Yeah, I know. And I'm not a fan either, right? But I also remember a point in my life when I was on forums every day. And there's people who still to this day are on forums every day. And it's baffling to me too, but it exists.
You guys remember like the hip hop game and all that? hiphopgame.com.
Yeah, I didn't go on there. I really used to do rap music and all hip hop for some weird reason.
Yeah, I used to fuck with that.
I mean, but let me tell you something. I was a part of fucking loudrecords.com, which was like one of the first, and we used to fucking text battle on there. That was like, I think the first text battling online, because that was like early in internet days. That was when like 2000, 2001, I think, 2002 maybe at latest. Like, so like, and there was no other way for us to communicate other than the forum. And the forum turned into like, yo, I got bars. Then that turned into like, yo, I'll battle you right now on this text.
Is fun. Yeah, text battles is
so
fun.
I mean, like, okay, so here's what I mean more. It's not that the content when you find the good shit isn't good. It's, have you ever tried to find the good shit not knowing how to find the good shit in a forum? It is terrible. You just read a lot of nonsense. And then you click and you click. You're like... But I'm not saying like it's not good shit. Yo, if somebody went through all that and like put it together and made like a Twitter or something, there's money in that idea. That's all I'm saying.
Bet probably there is. Facts.
But that's still like super cool. So I guess the real question is at the end. So you're doing the battle rap thing. Why do you stop doing the battle rap thing?
A couple of different things. So one, it got boring.
That's a fair answer.
Yeah, it got really boring because, like I said, I did it to challenge myself, and just
you didn't feel challenged anymore.
Yeah, after a while, it just got bored. I got diagnosed with like it's like a rare condition called Santer's triad. Right now, I take shots like in my stomach, like a diabetic, but it's not for diabetes. Yeah, it's for Santer's triad. So this disease, I don't know if you can hear me. I sound congested, right? So this disease gives me nasal polyps. It makes my asthma bad, and it makes it gives me like hives and shit like that. So I couldn't perform the way I wanted to when this disease first started. So I had to figure out a way to deal with it. I had 2 surgeries to take the polyps out, but they grew back because of the disease. So the only other option I had was to try these shots. It's called Dupixent. So I started on these shots, and now the nasal polyps are gone. My asthma is controlled. I feel regular, like a regular person, like I felt before. So that was another reason why I stopped. My health was really bad. I didn't know what was going on with me. I didn't understand it. So I had to figure it out and see what this shit was. So that was another reason why I stopped. And that's another reason why I want to come back.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're thinking about coming back. Like, it sounds like you're in the mindset of like, I want to come back. I want to eat. I want to play.
It stopped, bro. I had to get my shit together first. And then now that probably about 2 years ago, I started getting right. So I stopped battling in 2017. And in like 2019, I started like understanding my disease and what I needed to do. Even while I was still figuring it out, I still battled. I battled Adi Boom while I was going through that. I battled Rosenberg going through this. So I'm not even in the shape I was once in these battles. So now that I'm back breathing right and just feeling a lot better, I that's what I'm gonna say. But yeah, that was one of the reasons why I stopped. So it was a couple different reasons.
Yeah, that's huge. Like,
Yeah.
all things considered, I did not expect that. I didn't know that. But that's like really like.
Let me tell you, son. The first time I found out something was wrong with me, right? I was talking to a girl, and she was like, "Yo, why you talk holding your nostrils?" And I'm like, "I don't." And I didn't hear, I didn't know that that's how I sounded because it's just nothing. I thought I had allergies. My shit was always leaking, so I didn't know. So when she said that, I was like, "Yeah, something's wrong." And I found out that that's what I had.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so now you just have to do. Well, I'm glad that there's the shots. I'm glad that there's something
Word.
you can deal with it.
I'm glad that there's a way to deal with the condition.
This is new too. The medicine I'm on is new. It's not like the medicine I'm on was for fucking eczema. So they started using it on patients like me. And
yeah, yo.
What happens? It works for us better than it works for people with eczema.
That's
crazy. That's crazy.
Oh, man, it's like
there's a lot of stuff like that, right? Like that the doctors, there's so much that's unexplored. There's no, my mom had brain surgery. There's no like medicine for that. Like there's no pill you can take if your brain is hurting that will touch your brain. Like the only thing I would imagine that would maybe help is some marijuana. I tried to get my mom to like try some CBD shit and it just didn't work for her. But like it's just one of those things where like there's no medicine for that. The best thing that they could give you is Percocet, like all the like, you know, painkiller medicine that will regularly put you to sleep because it's in your body and it, you know, like does that to you. But like there's no pain medication for your brain, you know? And there's just a lot of things like this that medicine still hasn't like fixed or figured out.
And I only figured out about this medicine because I went on a Facebook group. There was times that I'm like, yeah, I can't deal with this shit no more. This shit is just taking away quality of life, bro. This shit is not fun. I'm on steroids because of the asthma. I can't breathe through my nose because of the polyps. These shit's growing back every time I get surgery. I just like, yeah, I can't do this shit, bro. So I went into a group. I found a group of people on Facebook that's dealing with the same exact shit. And they said that medicine changed their life. So I ain't got nothing.
Nothing to lose. Yeah.
So I went and did that.
Yo, blessed communities, yo. That's why.
How often do you have
the social world is like, for as much as people talk shit about where it's just like, oh, social media is like the worst ever. It's like, nah, it's not, yo. It, like a lot of greatness happens online. It's just people focus on all the negative that happens to them. But like, there's so much positive that happens. That's a great example of it.
Yeah, for real though. Like I was gonna say, for everything, like when you said Facebook group, and now it's like leading to happy times. It's like I think a lot of people do forget that side of it, and that there is this whole other world of social media outside of ego that like is powerful. So even just sharing that's really cool. I mean, maybe somebody ends up hearing this one day and they're dealing with some shit, and they go on Facebook and they find some shit.
I'm glad that you even asked why I stopped, because a lot of people ask me, and I never get to explain it like I want to, because I don't want to sound like I'm looking for pity. I don't want to sound like feel bad for me or nothing in that sense. You know what I'm saying? So I never really get into detail on why I stopped. So I just let them know one reason. I don't let them know the whole shebang about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I appreciate that you asked that. So people who do know me want to know. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah, but that's like, and honestly, at the end of the day, it's like it's a powerful statement on priority, right? Like, you should stop and deal with your health. Like, because I think a lot of people
Facts.
don't know that. And I know it sounds super basic, but like I know people that don't care like that about their own health or won't bother to check. So the fact that, and then you went that step, one step further, right? Like, because it isn't just that. You explored normal options, you're feeling away, but then you didn't just stop. You pushed forward and went past like conventional doctors and shit and found an alternate solution.
Specialist, yeah.
That like worked out.
Funny thing, right? So it's not funny, but look, so I was gonna get treatment a little earlier than I got it recently because I got on one shot, right? So as soon as I got that shot, my insurance it ended, so I couldn't get any more shots. The medicine I'm on is $36,000 a year, so I couldn't get no more shots. My insurance was gone. I was working in the hospital. Then I wasn't on their insurance, so I didn't have insurance with them. So at that point, right? I'm like, damn, now what am I? You know what I'm saying? So, and that's when I went and got the other medicine. So you're saying that me not stopping to find more alternatives. You gotta just keep looking for it. If you're not dead, there's no reason for you to stop it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's big.
You got breath in your lungs. You got an opportunity to change your circumstances.
Right, yeah. You're alive, bro. Do it. Go ahead, because you could. You know what I'm saying?
And you did. And now you're like, I'm hungry to come back to battle rap and take my place and eat.
Action, bro. Action. And you know, it's funny. You see the tournaments going on, the King of the Dots and the Ultimate Madnesses. I got people that know me and love me. Like, yo, bro, you supposed to. That's your fucking spot. These niggas, they cannot fuck with you. I feel like that, you know what I'm saying? And I still feel like that right now. Like
all it takes is one comeback battle in the right league with the right people watching, and you could absolutely get invited to those tournaments.
I know that for a fact. I'm not worried about talent. It's just the better look, the look, just the right look.
Yeah.
So I know back in the day, music wasn't a priority, but I also know I heard the 2-piece remix featuring Push Pax and listen to, was it what, a 3-minute verse too or something crazy? I mean, now that you're like, I don't know if it was like a full through, it was a long ass verse though, like, and you know what, but now that you've like told me your story and you're like, fuck a songwriting, I just want to do bars, blah, blah, and I'm like, oh, say a word, it makes sense. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, it sounds banging. That's a banging tune. Right. And then your other track came out and I'm like, say a word. You know, we were talking about the house and shit, and I'm like, yo, that has a little bit of that feel to it. Maybe a little house snuck into that current one you got on Spotify and shit, right? So that like ties way back into your young days, which is crazy to me when he said that right away. But then it's like, so there's a little bit of music popping around right now, and I heard Littyyy bro Pax, so I'm assuming Flacko's like, nah, I'm not done with you. Psst, not done with you at all.
Yeah, so yeah, go ahead.
I guess it was just a segue into, so is music more of a priority these days?
I ain't gonna lie, man. Being around Flacko, he just brings like I'm not gonna say the child out of me, but he brings like, yo, we older, but let's have fun too, like adult fun. Like don't be fucking boring, bro. And that's the vibe I get with him. So when I'm with him, it's just super easy and fun to do music. And I have friends like that, and he's one of them guys that I could just easily make a song with him. Let me be myself. He's not worried about like, bro, you can't say this or you can't do that. Like, I'll fuck with you with how you are and what you do and who you are. So music right now, yeah, I have some songs that I haven't put out yet, but I've been doing more music now than ever in my life. And fucking with Flacko, he got me into it a little more than I normally was. So yeah.
I always found the challenge was making albums. If you want a challenge.
Say that again?
I always found the challenge isn't in songwriting individually. It's making a cohesive project, a big like an album. You want a challenge? Make 13 fucking tracks that can slap in a row. That's a challenge.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
And then I promise
that's tough. That's a fucking challenge. Yeah.
Challenge. Yeah, it is.
You can make 13 songs, but not 13 slaps.
But then you have to be able to come through, and all the choruses have to be some shit that motherfuckers might sing. because you got to think
Right.
about the live show. Now, as much as making songs is not my favorite, 100, well, sometimes it's fun. You go to a fucking place, and it happened to me one time, and they sing your fucking chorus at you, my guy. That's an energy that's drugs, that like is good
Super
drugs.
drugs.
Super good drugs.
Super drugs.
Right.
It's the feeling of battle rap, like amplified as fuck.
Yeah, I make music. I don't do battle rap, but I've been rapping since 2012. My very first show, this happened to me. It was the only time it happened to me.
Dope.
I can't say it happened. It's on YouTube and shit, so I'm very happy to bring it up when I can. But like, yeah, so but I do the chorus, and they're like fucking singing it by the end of the. This is my like fucking first set ever and shit, and I'm like, yo, man. After that, you're addicted. You're chasing that dragon for the rest of your life. Is the truth of it.
Yeah.
But I did like hip hop karaoke, which is a cheat code because motherfuckers are gonna sing that. There's no like lyrics. You gotta just spit it like it's your track. But yo, you singing like Ludacris and shit. Motherfuckers is singing with you. Very good feelings and stuff. So like, I don't know, man. That like vibe is something special to pursue if you want a different kind of challenge.
Definitely different challenge.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's a fucking challenge for sure. I know I'll have some trouble with that, but yeah, like you said, that's challenging.
Hey man, you got a little bit of a cheat code over here. I'll definitely be a helping hand. You know what I mean?
Right hands right there. If anything,
like that, like that's like my favorite shit in the world is like being like really like getting my puff poppy on. You know what I mean? And really being like, yo, let me tell you something. I got that puff shit in my ear. It's just like, this is what sounds right. This is what sounds good. This is what people want to hear. You know what I mean? Like
that's the hard
people
part.
forget that. Like people forget that like is what people want to hear, you know, like people want to hear a good time. That's why I always focus on like, you know, I mean, people want to hear the sad and depressing and the bad and the crazy and everything too. But like, I focus on the good time because like I'm having a good time, and I like to focus on what like the truth of like what you're living in the moment, you know?
The other part of it,
which I think also is powerful,
is like it's just super hard to stand out if like everyone's kind of doing the bars thing, which I find. So to be able to do the bars thing, but then branch out and not do like 6 styles, oof, that's where it gets like challenging. Like whatever degree of success anyone achieves is what it is. But like, yo, I heard your precision, man. I heard the way you rapped all these different things. I'm like I said earlier, with like no hyperbole, you can hear the fucking beat under you when you're doing your battle thing. It's really nifty. And so like, I think you just got like, you would fucking crush it because you've proven the versatility of content making via battle rap.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate
big facts.
Thank you.
Big facts. I agree.
I just want to hear the album, okay? I'm just saying it. I want to hear that album that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna come.
I got some music too, so
sent them a whole folder of beats and shit.
Say word.
Yeah, yo, and I got some shit that we supposed to finish, but we'll get into that.
Word.
But yo, that 2-piece, right? I told like, yo, what am I doing? Am I doing 16 or what? And he's like, yo, you do whatever the fuck you want. He's like, yo,
I was definitely like, I definitely was of the mindset of like, I'd like to have him come on the track and like drop more than 16. Like me and Jess both did 16. Like I'd like for him to do more than that as like a featured to stand out. And I think that he did
that. Before he said you can do that, I wanted to do that because the beat is so, like the beat is nuts. You can't can't stop rapping right here. No.
Yeah, you don't stop rapping over the hard part of the beat. Like what?
Yeah, you keep going. So
keep going.
When he told me to do that, that's what I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it, man.
Yeah, it's dope.
And that flow is wet like water, B. Like that's the beautiful thing about Pax. Like he's got like a beautiful flow.
And here's the thing, you sound like you're from New York, which is a really big advantage in the market of a lot of people not sounding like they're from New York, but wanting to sound like they're from New York. And that's what I realized in my like discovery is in a lot of places that don't have an identity, they just jack identity of cadence and sound. Like I can't make New York rap. So I shouldn't bother trying to make New York rap is my thoughts on the situation. I can pay homage to New York rap, but I don't come from New York, so I don't even have the right attitude or believability. Now, some people may. I'm not saying they don't. Some people may be able to totally do it, but I found most people just can't. They emulate it really poorly. You sound like fucking New York in a box.
Yeah, bro. Like, what I'm doing is me. I don't try to fucking rap like nobody. I don't even like a lot of rappers, so there's nobody really to emulate. And the
That's
ones
what
I
I
do
mean.
like, yeah, like the ones I do like, I can't really emulate them because they're not the guys to emulate. You know what I'm saying? You can't copy Drake, Kanye, Beyonce. You can't rap like Jada. No, you gotta
Nope.
do you. Because if you're trying to do
Yeah.
that, you're looking crazy, bro.
You look crazy. Facts.
Yeah. So that's really what that is. And you know, it's acceptance from your city as well. Once you got your city behind you and you got people that's really from here fucking with you, why stop doing what you're doing? You know what I'm saying? I could give a fuck, like, respect to you, but I could give a fuck what someone from fucking Texas thinks about my raps because y'all don't fuck with New York rap. You know what I'm saying? I do this for my side, for the people that grew up where I grew up. You know what I'm saying? And for you to like that, that's super dope. I appreciate that.
I mean,
I'm not targeting nobody. I'm not trying to get nobody.
no, but I think it's interesting because, yo, like, I kind of feel like that about Montreal, right? Like, yo, there's enough people here that, frankly, if my city fucks with me, I mean, that's cool. But, like, then I know people from, like, some seriously small places. And those are people that they don't have that reality. There's no geographic possibility at home. So then they're playing some internet game or some go to the next big city thing. It creates like a different dynamic. I don't know. I think about these kinds of variables, but like I feel like the way you sound, it's just like people want to hear people like you rap for a long time in a row. Like you could go on that Funk Master Fleck, whatever Funk Flex shit, just spit that shit for like nonstop.
Yeah, that's what we love. You remember the High 97 freestyles
Facts.
when Rockefeller goes up there and then D Block goes up and then you got Norig and Fabulous up there. That's the shit I lived for that.
Yeah, New York. That's
Stand
why
by
the
radio and wait till that comes on.
Yeah, that's why the Locks and Dipset went down how it did, you know, because of the fact that like New York loves that freestyle shit that the Locks and Dipset do. It's just that Dipset didn't dig into that bag early enough at all. And by the time they did, it was like, buddy, it is too late. That ship has sailed, sir.
And and this is not no slight to nobody else. Like I said, I loved Cash Money as a kid. You know what I'm saying? So when I say the guy in Texas that don't like me, I don't care. But I care about the person in Texas that do like me. You know what I'm saying?
That's just good. That's just a good sense of business, though.
Right. Yeah, so that's what I mean when I say that. I don't want to offend nobody. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you also said it's super polite, you know, so it's proper. Like, you know, for real though, like I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think a lot of people might take a lot of things people may say weird sometimes, but like it makes sense to me given your priorities, you know, even down to where you wanted to battle rap. Like you live in a place where you take pride in where you're from and it matters to you that it matters there. And then that is what I've come to see one of the most attractive things for the external world to give a shit about your scene. Like, yo, people fuck with the Bronx and shit from not the Bronx because the Bronx loves the Bronx as much as the Bronx loves the Bronx.
Yeah.
And like, even in a sense
I have pride whenever I see anybody from the Bronx doing anything. I'm like, oh, BX in the house. Know what I mean? Bronx in the building. You know I'm fucking with this motherfucker. Even when it's somebody that I don't like. You know, like I'll be watching something and I'm like, you know what? I kind of don't like this motherfucker, but he's from the Bronx, so we rep it hard.
I don't know that attitude is universal, which to me is a super interesting part of the equation, and I respect that a lot. And I think more people maybe do need to worry, not like care about what happens at home as much per se, but at least take a little bit more pride in the successes of where you're from. If I started looking at music like a team sport, and whether you love or hate your city or your peers, it's still your team in the world of music, right? Like, and it's kind of like that to like fans on the internet, you know? Like maybe people don't like look up cities per se, but I'm certain that algorithms do. Algorithms pay attention to that shit. So you kind of want your peoples to be dominating them algorithms so that your peoples in your cities is getting recommended searches off of like a hip hop DX and not letting it all go to New York is what I'm saying. I mean, you guys may want it to go there. I'd be happy for some of that to come here.
I feel like everybody should be that way, because especially in battle rap, like, yo, if I hear you rap, because this is the thing that happens in Dutch Vouch. These new battle rappers will come out sounding like somebody, and you won't know where they're from. Leave me with that. Show me about where you're from. Tell me what, you know what I'm saying, what you grew up on. And these battle rappers don't do that. They very punchline, they're nice, but they don't leave me with who they are. I don't know you. I know that you can rap. And I think every battle rapper and rapper person, period, should always, I'm from the Bronx, I'm from the D, I'm from Houston, like, like that. Say it like
your
that.
Your city usually, if you're from, I mean, right, like even if you're not from a major city, you should take pride in your town. You should take pride in your shit.
Raised you.
Like that's what raised you, exactly. That's what made you the man you are, or woman you are, you know,
Like,
or however you identify, you know. But like, end of the day, like you should take pride in yourself, and that's what New York has always been about. Like that's what New York is about. Like that's why when people like in battle rap have like New York's always kind of gotten a bad rap where people are like, oh, New York is the worst crowd ever, and they only cheer for their own people. And I'm just like, nah, that's bullshit. Like New York is not like that. We're the biggest city that's not like that. We'll boo our own if like, which Matt Hoffa has had it happen to him. Plenty of rappers from New York have gotten booed in New York because you're having a bad performance. And we're not having it. We don't care where you're from. You have a bad performance in New York, you're going to get the Apollo treatment. You're going to get the boos. You're going to get the motherfucking people making you feel like there's a clown about to come on stage and pull you the fuck off this bitch, you know? Like, you know?
It's a fact.
So, and that's how New York is. But also on the flip side of that, it doesn't matter where you're from. If you are quintessentially yourself and you have some fire, we're going to fuck with you. Like New York is always one of the first outside markets that like takes and adopts other people's music because we fuck with the best shit everywhere, period. It don't matter, you know, like that's why Juvenile High started playing in New York radio, because it was like, yo, this shit is actually kind of dope. Like, you know, like this has to play here, you know, and Jay-Z jumps on the remix because it's fire, you know, like, and that's New York. Like,
I just feel like everyone needs that energy. Just rap where you from and rap it proud.
It's like a self-esteem thing. I don't know how to fully describe it, but like I guess the environment that breeds New York that has been described to me so in various levels of detail summarizes as, I've been through that shit, ain't nothing in life that can touch me. And that creates a degree of self-esteem that makes you feel like you can conquer the world. I don't think that experience is universal. So achieving that level of bravado within one's soul, which honestly is necessary, may be a lot harder in places that are a little softer, is the general idea I have. Because, for me, it's been so interesting, right? Like, how does a place like Atlanta, New York, the Bay Area, how do these places thrive? What is it about these places? You know, it can't just be like the city and the geography. Like, that doesn't make sense. So there has to be like a certain spark to the personality, and
they have a culture.
City.
They have a culture,
and it's
their cities have their own culture that like they breed and they, you know, they bear fruition to. And then that's why that's why I've been recently saying, like, I don't know if like hip hop has like, I don't know if hip hop is a culture, right? Like, I think that New York City has hip hop culture in the city because that's the culture of this city, is hip hop. But like, you go other places and it's not a hip hop culture that breeds the hip hop that comes out of there. It's their local culture that breeds the hip hop that comes out of there. So like in New Orleans, you got bounce hip hop, because that's the music that they playing down there. But it's not that they're hip hopped out doing graffiti, fucking break dancing, because they're not break dancing. They're dancing to the bounce music, you know what I mean? And they're booty shaking, and you know, same thing with Miami bass, Atlanta trap. Like it's this like we form our own G Funk in Cali. They form their music, and their music finds its identity in the culture of the city itself and what the city operates like.
Because, yo, like Montreal has 4 million people in the greater Montreal area. In theory, our scene should be doing like more in terms of you guys have heard of us kind of things than it is. And so I've been trying to like fully understand it. And I think what happened is that this hip hop culture idea, and this is again running on Flacko's idea, so I'm not an expert, I'm just a theorist and philosophizer on this, but let's say Flacko has a lot of weight in that. And Montreal doesn't have hip hop culture per se. It has a pocket of people that fucks with hip hop culture and created a dynamic of hip hop culture within a subculture within a city per se, etc. But if you run like real population numbers, it isn't like enough people were being hip hop for it to be like I walked outside the street and saw it, right? That wasn't my reality. So yeah, a lot of our stories is we discover hip hop through whatever means. And yes, there is people that may be true and true, blah, 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 graph, all of it, whatever. But the percentage of people that did that is drastically
very
different
small
versus the regular life. And I think my city struggles with its own cultural identity for a lot of reasons. That's long conversations. But the short version of it is, I don't know, like that. I don't even know that I would call myself a hip hop artist. I'm a guy who raps and makes music, and it just so happens to be best qualified as hip hop on Spotify. That's how I felt about my music. I give a lot of love to hip hop culture and it inspires me every day, but like I didn't grow up like that. If that like the combative part of it, like if that's part of it, I don't know that I'm that part of it. You know what I mean? Like a little bit, but like so it's like a big topic in my head. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I do listen to Flacko like week over week kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I mean it's like one of those.
They're not spinning on cardboards in New Orleans. So, like you didn't go outside and see people spinning on cardboards, did you?
Nah, there's like a 1-2 spot. Like it's a niche thing.
It's still hip hop because they didn't see that shit either. But they saw what they saw. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you saw is what you saw, and you turned it into hip hop.
Okay.
We can't fucking shun people from because they didn't see gang life or they didn't see
absolutely
and shit like
agreed
that. Like that we can't do that because they still support the culture, period. So
yeah, because there's also plenty of hip hop that isn't that, you know, and that's part of hip hop too in the city, right? Like De La Soul is not that, Tribe Called Quest is not that. Like there's a whole it's not just gangsta. Yeah, exactly. But I think that, you know what, like in the terms of like hip hop being like the umbrella to all of this, it absolutely is, right? I'm just saying, like, in the essence of like considering hip hop a culture, you know, like I had this conversation with the homie Cabin on here on the EO Zoom. You know, it's just like I don't know if it's necessarily a culture. You know, I think it's just a genre. It's just that we named it a culture because it became a way of life for us New Yorkers, right? But like that same way of life is not the way of life everywhere else. Right. So if that's what we're calling hip hop, then like no, there is no like hip hop culture anywhere else. But it is all like in the essence of people using hip hop as a blanket term of a culture. Yes, everything is under that blanket of the culture. Nerdcore hip hop, nerdcore rap is a part of hip hop. Like everything. Anytime somebody takes a rapping tonality in their lyrics and flow in a song, you're doing hip hop. Like that's
hip hop.
That's yeah. Like you're doing hip hop.
I mean, but like I'm just saying, to me, like it's not like a definitive thing, right? Like I think that. Well, I mean, I think it's a valid. I think I don't think that like hip hop culture in the sense of like New York's exclusivity over it is really fair, but the idea that the brand that New York is, I don't know that other people can just replicate that because New York did it. And I've personally borne witness, because Montreal's pretty fucking close to New York, right? Like pretty fucking close. So like there's a lot of cats that do have this like idea that like hip hop is supposed to sound like New York City, and I'm like, I mean, that's cool for hip hop heads, is bad for converting Montrealers who are also listening to New York hip hop. And then you sound like not New York hip hop by comparison, because they go, but bro, you work at an insert restaurant name type thing. And so these are just like, and it's not meant to be like criticisms, because I really don't want to have like, you know, negative ideas floating out there. But I mean, when you're trying to like establish a culture of your own, you do have to be honest with the diagnosis of the situation. We're not New York City. Yo, man, we get way more offended than y'all. We get offended in ways that y'all don't get offended. That's hugely different off the jump.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know what you're saying, which is like, you know, we're like, it's important for you. You want for Montreal to be like New Orleans, like Memphis, like all these other cities that have their own identity. And then the music that gets born out of that is like its own thing,
like its own like subgenre of hip hop, right?
Yeah,
it's a Montreal
everything's a subgenre,
right? Like, but its own subgenre that isn't just like, yo. And I think it's happening, right? Like I listen to this shit and I'm like, yo, we're a little dancier. We have these different little energies coming. Like I'm starting to see the little traces, because yo, Montreal is a dance city, has a lot of EDM, a lot of heavy metal. Like, you know, these are just the sounds of Montreal. You know, there's also a jazz community that's pretty prolific, and like alt rock, and you know, these things that are like, yo, all of us listen to this shit on the radio shit. Everybody listened to Good Charlotte back in the day. Like it's just kind of how it was. So with that, like this energy is starting to flow through, but there's not enough people inside of the city caring about the sound of the city to like cultivate it. So like the more I talk to people like y'all who really show me about the culture of what you're from, it's like, yo, this is helpful information to like bring back to Montreal, to be like, okay, I don't want to steal that exactly, but like these are things they did different that make more sense about self-identity and moving through the environment, and how everything just kind of ties together naturally. So we have to look within ourselves more, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's ill that you telling us about that, because I have no clue about Montreal hip hop.
Oh my gosh,
there's look into it just because
thousands of us. I'm like, no, and there's 2 languages, so like there's even on the English side. Anyway, it's a whole other conversation. But on the English side alone, there's probably a good 2,000-3,000 rappers right now in Montreal trying, and on the French side, way more. Like, so it's like
I'd embrace the French side.
I mean, the French side's doing alright. Like they're not doing bad. The English side's struggling a little bit more. We're having some issues that we're working on, but we're working on them, and that's the cool part. COVID was very helpful for a lot of egos to get over themselves. It's just a fact, myself included. Like I include myself in that list of people that had to check. You can ask Flacko. I've checked my ego a little bit, you know. But like, yeah, no, still, I appreciate you even having interest, though. That's cool. Not everybody has interest like that.
Yeah, no, man, if it's dope, it's dope. I remember niggas wasn't really fucking with the drill, and I always thought like, yo, that shit is cool. It's not my type of shit, but that shit is alright. I fuck with it. But yeah, it's the same thing. If it's dope, it's dope. That's how I see it. And I told Flacko, let's go drill on some tracks. You know.
Yeah, big facts.
Yeah, that'd be nifty. I want to hear a Littyyy drill. Yeah. Facts. So, yo, what is coming next for you in the near future? Do you have anything to promote or advertise or anything along those lines?
Littyyy Bros volume, what is that, 3 or 4?
3.
Volume 3. What's the name of it? Coochie Fritos?
I remember that
Volume
part.
3, Coquitos and Coochie Fritos.
You catch me on that. I got music. I don't want to say anything and just disappoint anybody. So just follow me on Instagram and You'll see.
Yo, it's
And I might come back for a battle. If anybody sees this and y'all niggas battle rapping and you don't like me or whatever the case is, get me lit. That's all I'm gonna say. Get me lit. Whoever want war, get me lit. Any one of y'all niggas. That's all I'm gonna say.
Love it.
Black.
Yo,
Black.
Yo, Pax.
Yo, that's a call out though. Word. We're gonna take that little clip.
Yeah,
Try dangling some bait out there.
Yo.
You know?
Gonna definitely go for that. But yo, thank you for coming through, Pax. Honestly, when Flacko says legend, I mean, I think it's like definitely a fair statement. You're still at it, and add in you dealt with a medical situation and are bouncing back. Like that's now we're going into the movie story territory, my guy.
Facts.
Right.
That's
I appreciate y'all for having me, man. And with the medical shit, like I wanted people to know about this. I just didn't have the time or place to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate y'all having me here and labeling me a legend, because people don't feel like, I don't feel like that. So for Flacko to say that is amazing. I appreciate that.
He does not
absolutely,
lie. No lies with that shit. He's like,
yo, real quick, I got one last question. What's up with the action figure above your left shoulder?
So that's my son's toy from like 4 years ago, and I just needed to put something. There's a nail right there, so I'm like, yo, hang that shit up right there. Spider-Man.
Oh, Spider-Man is lit, and his Miles Morales Spider-Man at that.
Yeah, exactly. So
Nah, that's lit.
That's special.
I thought that it was like an Easter egg. Know what I mean? A PAX Easter egg.
That's amazing. I just thought it was like meant to be there. I didn't really think much of it. I was like, it breaks up the monotony of the wall. It's well placed.
I've been selling.
Just playing back there, right? Yeah.
I've been selling Holden that we need to start like putting, like, he should put an Easter egg over his shoulder
and it's hard to like. It's really hard to think of one, right? Like, because you don't just want. So it has to be something that's like good enough that people want to care about. Not just some corny shit. That is a lot harder to think of than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it is.
Nah, that's ill. That's a great idea. I never thought of that shit like that. That's hot.
Word.
And then Bonnie put a unicorn in the background that nobody cared about.
She put a My Little Pony and shit.
And she's like saying it in the chat now, like, I did. It's on the shelf. It's a pegacorn.
Pegacorn.
And it's like, it's there, but nobody like cared.
Hilarious.
But that's all right.
Word though.
But yo, thank you for coming for real. Because like, as much as it's like we gave you a platform, I mean, we don't have a reason to do this without people to talk to. You know, like, and Facts. It's amazing that you share as much as you do, and everyone does. Like, cause yo, it's a lot of time. You know, it's a lengthy interview.
Definitely.
And yeah, thank y'all that are watching on the live too, because a bunch of people stuck through this. Like we're saying, like people. It wasn't just us. There was a number there.
Like shouts to the
chats that was there. And like shout out to End of the Week for like hosting
the Perspectivators.
And
I'm trying to come up with a name right now, and I'm blanking out. Perspectivators. We're gonna come up with a name for everybody who shows up.
I'm gonna think about that too, stills. But yeah, shout out End of the Week for hosting this. You can find them at eodub.com, has all their good stuff. But just look up End of the Week, WEAK, like weak people. Anyway, and all of the Push Pack stuff, pack stuff will be down below, and you could check that out in the future for future watching people. Thank y'all again for coming through, and we appreciate y'all. Live long and prosper, everybody.